Hello, Amrita.
Hello, Arjun. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine.
Where have you been?
I've been out of town for my project. Would you like to look at some photographs?
Photographs?
Yes. I took them on my trip out.
These are really interesting. Are they for your project?
Yes, they are. I've been examining catchment area treatment measures around the Narmada River.
Narmada River? When did you visit that area?
I'll tell you what, do you have some time? Because we can't really talk in the library. Shall we go upstairs to my room?
Let's go upstairs.
Yes, I'll tell you more about it there.
We can have some coffee too.
Sure. I visited the area around the Narmada River in Bharuch in the last week of July. The first rains had just fallen and I discovered the area at its most beautiful. I stayed in a little town called Kevadia.
Kevadia? The name is familiar. Isn't it very near the Narmada Dam?
That's right. But you know something, Arjun, it isn't accurate to call it the Narmada Dam. This is the Saradar Sarovar Dam. As I found out in a visiting exhibition called Narmada Dam. Here I met Mr. B.J. Parmar, who is the chief engineer, and he solved many of my doubts. Show me the whole area. Where does
The usefulness of the dam is unquestionable, Amrita. But that is because we've been going through 3 years of consecutive drought. What worries me is the reports about that this area is earthquake prone.
Yes, I did ask Mr. Parmar the same question. Sir, doubts have been raised about that this area is earthquake prone. What measures have been taken to?
Yeah, it's a good question. You see, to study the seismicity of this area in and around the project site, the expert committee was constituted by Govt of Gujarat, wherein the experts from India as well as from abroad were inducted, and they have gone into all the details about seismicity in this region, and the design of the dam takes care of all these earthquake activities in this region. Apart from that, as suggested by them, we have already provided 9 seismological observatories in and around the periphery of the reservoir and dam site.
Did you visit the dam site?
Yes, I did. I saw the swiftly flowing river and the massive and sophisticated machinery. I saw the work in progress. Arjun, what struck me was that the water of the river looked red and muddy.
Red? Why was that?
Due to silt brought down by massive erosion of the surrounding hills.
Erosion? Meaning the washing away of the soil due to wind and water. That must be creating a lot of destruction.
Actually, we tend to think of erosion as an entirely destructive process, but this is not so. As Mr. Chaturvedi, Assistant Conservator of Forests, told me, erosion is of 2 types. One is geological, an entirely essential process taking place under plant cover, without any biotic interference, leading to formation of soils and their distribution.
And when is it destructive?
Interfering with the nature, then they starts the accelerated erosion. So our efforts are to stop that erosion only, so that it may not accelerate. So in order to do that, we have done all sort of works and these things so that it can be controlled.
When erosion is accelerated or man-made due to human factors, when the natural soil cover is destroyed and deforestation takes place.
So then the action of the water or wind loosens the soil and it flows away.
Yes, just think, in a few days, the work of centuries is destroyed. I asked Mr. Chaturvedi what the exact reasons for this were. He told me that the most important reason was the dependence of the people living in this area on the forests around them.
Isn't this area inhabited by tribals?
Yes, it is, and to get a better idea, I visited some of the villages around Kadipani.
What is the main occupation of the people there?
They are basically farmers, but the problem is that their methods of cultivation are primitive and destructive to the forests and to the soils. They cultivate the slopes of the hills, as a result of which they do not get even optimum production. And secondly, they destroy the soil cover so completely that it gets washed away. તમે કયા ગામના છો?
હોમ ઓફિસર રહેવાના છે.
ઓફિસરના છો. અને શું કામ કરો?
ખેતીનું કામ કરીએ.
ખેતી ક્યાં છે? ખેતી તમારી જમીન ક્યાં?
જમીન અહીં ઉલવે છે, ભાગે કરશે.
કેવી આમ આવી જ જમીન છે?
હવે તે કરે ખેડે છે.
ખેડે છે? શું ખેતી કરો છો? એની ખેતી કરો તમે?
ખેતી આ જુવારો એ મકાઈ કરીએ, એ જ કરીએ, તુવેરે
જુવાર ને
કરીએ.
મકાઈ.
હા, તુવેરે કરીએ.
કેટલું ઉગે?
ઉગે તો જેવું વાવે તેવું ઉગે ને.
એટલે કેટલા કિલો આમ એક સિઝનમાં કેટલા આવે?
હાલે કેતરું પાકે કેતરું માલિક વારો વરાત હોય તો વારું પકાડે, નહીં વરાય તો હું પાકી જાય.
મારા છોકરા ખરા?
હા, છોકરા છે.
અહીંયા સ્કૂલ ને એવું છે? ભણે છે એ લોકો?
નથી.
અહીંયા કોઈ બીમાર પડે તો છે ડોક્ટર?
નથી.
કોઈ નથી. શું
ડોક્ટર.
કરો બીમાર પડે તો?
અહીં કવાટ લઈ જવાને
કેવી રીતે લઈ જાઓ બધા કવાટ?
અહીંથી ગાંઠે લાવવાના અને ત્યાંથી પછી લઈ જવાને કવાટ.
So their life even today, you mean, is difficult. No education, no medical facilities, and they're destroying the forests out of ignorance.
That's true, Arjun. In Kadipani, I met Mr. Sharma, who is the deputy conservator of forests, and he showed me the effects of erosion.
Yes, in this catchment area, because this is a hilly terrain, so the small riverlets, this is now, we are standing in a small nala, rather we can say small river. So whatever the water comes, from the hills and other areas, get accumulated, and during the monsoon, the velocity of the water will be so much. This is a sort of a sharp turn here of this
Exactly.
small river.
Yes.
So it will go on removing the lower soil, and with the result afterwards the upper soil will come out. And when this is divide of tree growth, so naturally there is no hold on that.
It will all get
So if
washed away.
yes, so that results in this soil erosion here.
This is really shocking. Can nothing be done to prevent this? This must be creating a never-ending process.
What makes the problem even more difficult is the fact that these areas are part of the catchment area of the Saradar Sarovar dam.
Catchment area, meaning that part of the dam from which the water flows into the dam. That reminds me, it has been seen in many dam sites that the life is drastically reduced due to siltation. What measures are being taken to prevent this?
As Mr. Sharma told me, these forests have been classified according to density of forest cover.
What I was telling you about the classification of the areas, now this falls under that category 0.4. That means very sparse type of forest. So in these areas, we'll have to do more afforestation to arrest this all, erosion. And for that also, we are raising 2,000 plants per hectare. Apart from that, whatever the natural regeneration is there, natural plants are there, we try to help them protect the area.
So one of the major steps they are taking is the plantation of 2,000 saplings per hectare.
That sounds somewhat difficult, considering that these areas are hilly.
Yes, it is going to be very difficult, especially since most of the forest is of the A type, that is of the low density type, and it does need intensive work. There is a team of a large number of trained range forest officers whose duty it is to supervise the plantation work.
Who does the actual plantation work?
That is a very interesting question. the forest department has been very successful in creating people's participation for plantation work. I visited the village of Amba Dungar with Mr. Sharma and saw some nurseries and spoke to some RFOs about their work.
It's falling in this catchment area of the Saradar Sarovar Project Dam. And here again we have got A type of areas, and where we are say planting 2,000 plants. The nursery for this plantation is raised down below, and from there the plants you see round about, they are brought here. Again these plants will be transported to the plantation site.
Those are higher up?
Yes. No, it's not higher, but it's about half a kilometer from here, and then about 3 kilometers that plantation area will be there.
Achha, so the people of this village, they are basically employed in these nurseries. That is their main occupation.
That is correct.
ઇન્સ્પેક્ટ કરવામાં જે પ્લાન્ટેશનના કામ જે કરવાના હોય એમાં ઇન્સ્પેક્ટ કરવાનું હોય, સબઓર્ડિનેટ્સ અમારે ગાઈડ કરવાના, કઈ રીતનું કામ કરવાનું હોય તેનું ગાઈડ કરવાનું હોય, ઓફિસરની સૂચના મુજબના જે કંઈ કામ ફેરફાર કરવો હોય તે પણ કામ કરાવવાના હોય. પ્રોટેક્શન અમારું મુખ્ય કામ છે. પ્રોટેક્શનમાં જંગલમાં ફ્રિક્વન્ટ વિઝિટ કરવી પડે, સબઓર્ડિનેટ વિઝિટ કરે છે કે નહીં તેનું ચેકિંગ કરવું પડે, સબઓર્ડિનેટ ફેથફુલી કામ કરે છે કે કેમ તે અમારે જોવું પડે, ગુના કામ કેટલું પકડે છે તે પણ અમારે જોવું પડે.
એટલે અહીંયા આવા બનાવો બનતા હોય છે મોટા
પણ અહીંયા કટિંગનું પ્રમાણ ઘણું ઓછું છે.
So you found that the people of these areas are deeply interested in afforestation?
Yes, Arjun, they are. Actually, I got a clearer idea when I visited Gulwani area. I spoke to some of the workers and found that they were also familiar with the species.
સીઝર જેવું પ્લાન્ટિંગ થઈ ગયું. ટોટલ અમારે 2 લાખ રૂપિયા વાવવાના છે. અમારે અહીંયા સીઝર આ ચોમાસામાં 2 લાખ વાવવાના છે. 100 હેક્ટર છે. હેક્ટરે 2000 દીઠ છે એટલે 2 લાખ રૂપિયા થાય.
અને આ કયા ઝાડ છે? કોઈ ખાસ ઝાડ છે?
અહીંયા આ સેવન છે, આમળા, વાંસ, ખાખરા, બેડા, સાદર, ખેર, બીજી આ સિવાયની બીજી આશ્રિત્રા છે, આમલી છે, આમળા છે, બધી સ્પીસીસ છે.
એ જંગલ વિસ્તારની ઓરિજિનલ સ્પીસીસ છે અને જે સારી રીતે આવી શકે છે અહીંયા. એ અને ખાસ તો બીજો એક પોઈન્ટ અમે ધ્યાનમાં રાખીએ છીએ કે આજુબાજુના જે કેચમેન્ટના ગામ છે એને ભવિષ્યની અંદર માઇનોર ફોરેસ્ટ પ્રોડ્યુસ જે બેડા છે, મવડા છે, અને એ પણ એને મળી શકે, એને પોતાની જે લોકલ ડિમાન્ડ પેદાશ મેળવી શકે એ, અને સાથે સાથે કેચમેન્ટનું એમ કે સોઇલ મોઇસ્ચર કન્ઝર્વેશનનું કામ થાય એ બેને ધ્યાનમાં રાખીને રોપા સિલેક્ટ કરવામાં આવે છે અને વાવવામાં આવે છે.
એના માટે અમે જે અમારી કંટ્રોલ ટેન્ચ બનાવી હતી એના પર ઘાસનું સીડ સોઈંગ કર્યું છે એટલે સોઇલ બાઇન્ડિંગ થાય, એની સોઇલ ધોવાઈ ના જાય. આવળ પેલું સ્ટ્રબ થાય છે, આવળ છે, પછી પેલું રતન જ્યોત ને એ બધું નાખ્યું છે.
અચ્છા, એટલે અહીંયાથી મજૂરો ક્યાં સુધી લઈ જાય છે ઉપર?
અહીંથી અમારો પ્લોટ લગભગ લાસ્ટ પોઈન્ટ છે અમારો ટોપ ઉપર, એ 1.5-2 કિલોમીટર જેટલું થઈ જાય.
એટલે દરરોજ એ લોકો આવતા
દરરોજ અહીંયા બધા લેબર તગારાથી ઉપાડીને રોપા લઈ જાય છે એટલે ત્યાં જવું બહુ મુશ્કેલ કામ છે.
So the people themselves take care of the planting process. But what about the other measures?
One very important measure is the construction of nala bunds. That is the creation of a whole grid of structures to break the flow of rainwater and to check the flow of soil and other debris.
How effective have these been found?
I found it out when I visited Gulwani, and Mr. Chaturvedi showed me the 2 types of nala bunds being constructed.
Actually, this sort of dam we construct in the areas where there is acute shortage of stones. Actually, the areas where the availability of the stone is scarce, so in those areas we do such type of structures. Their objective is the same, I mean just to arrest the silt as well as to break the flow of the incoming water. Now you can see this is a stump of kakad. Now it has sprouted. So after some time, I mean after a span of 1 to 2 years, I mean these trees itself will establish and they will act as the barrier for the incoming water and all that. So the entire nala will be stabilized.
Amrita, when one talks about forests, one also thinks about the wildlife. Won't the construction of the dam affect the wildlife in this area?
Unfortunately, Arjun, most of these areas have little to no wildlife due to destruction of forests. But to compensate for this, the government is developing the Shulpaneshwar Sanctuary. This is an area of really beautiful dense forests, and the forest department is concerned that it should remain So, and steps have been taken to ensure this. And
You know, there are various types of check dams.
yes.
This is a masonry check dam, which is slightly costlier than the other check dams, but it's more effective than other ones. So it has got outlets. You see, there are some gaps are there. So these are outlets for the water, for the extra water to go out. But after the monsoon, these barricades are put in, so the water gets stagnated throughout the year, which can be used for the wild animals for their usage.
But only the building of these structures can't be so effective because after all they are all time bound.
That is true, and so another measure which is being taken is the construction of live fences on contours on the slopes.
Live fences, what are they?
There is a species called ketki, which is indigenous to the area, and as I found out in the sanctuary, these are planted on the slopes.
So ultimately there will be a permanent root cover on the slopes and the soil will be arrested from erosion.
Yes, interestingly, there are also nurseries in the sanctuary growing teak and bamboo, which are two species native to the forest and have qualities by which they grow back immediately after being cut. Related to this is another soil and moisture conservation measure, which is the creation of van talavdis.
Meaning lakes.
Yes, these are constructed to function as water harvesting structures. Rainwater collects in them, and the aim is to bring up the water table. These also provide drinking water and water for other purposes for the tribals.
Amrita, you have traveled a lot in the catchment area. What about the area just around the dam?
Arjun, these are called dam vicinity areas, and I visited this with Mr. Chaturvedi, who showed me the contrast between an area which had been planted and on one which was barren.
So such plantations have already come up.
Yes, I visited one such plantation.
But if these are near the residential areas, don't the people harm the trees?
I asked Mr. Chaturvedi the same question. Don't you feel that if this plantation has come up near a residential area, you're starting the whole circle of deforestation all over again if these people will exploit this place for fodder, for fuel, and the trees will be destroyed all over again?
The basic objective of this plantation was, as it falls under dam vicinity plantation, so the basic objective was to provide the fuel wood and fodder requirements of the local people and to restore the ecological people.
Another measure being taken up is that of compensatory plantation. To make up for these forests, new forests are being created in Kutch.
In Kutch? That sounds interesting. So, do you personally feel that these areas are going to benefit from all these measures?
Definitely. As I moved around in this area, met the people who live there, met the people who work there, I felt that there was hope for the forests. I felt that they would be able to bloom again. Surely I felt the scars of the earth would heal. We can look forward to a tryst with a green future.